welcome back to another lesson in Swift for Beginners. In today's lesson, we are going to be talking about strings. So we're picking up exactly where we left off, so let's get started by getting rid of all of this good stuff. And let's set a title up here, and of course we'll make it strings. And I just want to preface this by saying I know we've been using strings already, but I wanted to discuss strings a little more in depth. This video will be a little quicker than the other lessons, but nevertheless, let's get into it. So a string is a way to represent kind of what it sounds like, just some string. So a text of sorts. It could be your name, it could be some characters, it could be anything. And a string is actually a data type, so you can create a variable. And let's say it's called my, and we can say it's of type string. And we can say it equals a string, and we can put that string into double quotes, like so. And this is how you represent a string. Or we can say, let's say, I don't know, let's call this Steve, and let's call this Steve Jobs. So that is a string, pretty simple. Now, of course, this can be a string optional, and like anything else can be an optional, we can unwrap this and we can say if let name equals Steve, and we can print down a name, and we'll see Steve Jobs down here in just a second, like so. So that's what a string is. So now, of course, a string in practical use could be used for a variety of things. It could be used for the title of a button. It could be used for a label on the screen. It could be used for an indicator saying that something is loading. So that's basically what a string is. It could be a variable or a constant. It could be optional or non-optional. But the last thing that I wanted to, rather the main thing that I wanted to show was string interpolation, which is super cool. So a lot of languages have some type of concatenation function, which for those of you that don't know, basically means combining two strings together. So let's say we have first, which is just Steve, and then we have last, which is Jobs. How do we create a full name? It's pretty simple in Swift. You can basically do this, which I think personally is pretty cool. This is called string interpolation. String interpolation is the concept of putting a variable's value inside of a string. And the way you do that is like this. So you have your quotes opening and closing for your entire string, and when you want to put a variable in the string, you put it in parentheses in the actual string's quotes, and you prefix it with a backslash. And you do that so you can let Swift know the thing that's going to be coming up right here is a variable. So if we actually print this, we'll see the full name, hopefully. Cool. Now I want you to also know that you can, of course, add in other text into here. And it doesn't only have to be two variables. What I also want you to know is it doesn't even have to be two strings. So let's say we have an int here. So my name is Steve Jobs, and I am number. If we come down here, we'll see in just a second, I am Steve Jobs and I'm number 1. So the point of this is you can create a string and you can drop in values from other things. So it could be an integer. Let's say you are displaying some text saying you're about to purchase something and your price will be $1.99. You might want to show the string saying you are about to purchase something, and the thing that'll be different every time is the $1.99. And you'll interpolate the price into the string. So this is how you can combine multiple strings into a larger string. This is how you can combine ints into a string. And basically anything that has a value that can be seen can be put into the string. You don't have to worry about types in terms of some type that isn't a string going into a string, because you can interpolate it. And yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. So like I said, this is a pretty quick lesson. become very comfortable with strings, they are literally used all over the place. And of course, there are a couple functions and operations off of a string. So there's things like find and replace. There is you can iterate over the characters in a string. So let's actually show you before I end this video. So we can do full name dot replace, and you can replace stuff that you find in a particular range with another string. Every single class generally has some functions off of it. Now, I'm not going to be running through all the ones on string, but there are a variety of ways to manipulate a string. You could turn it backwards, you can replace a particular part of it, you can check if a string has any characters, you can check a string's length. Let's say you want someone to input a password and you want it to be at least 8 characters. You can say something like I believe it's length. I could be mistaken. It's count. So you can say the count of the string, which is the number of characters in the string. So I'm going to digress there. There are a variety of operations. I encourage you to go and take a look at them, but that is basically a little bit more in-depth about a string. I hope you guys found this lesson informative. Leave a like, follow, subscribe, comment. More than happy to help you guys out, and I will see you in the next lesson.